This is the Thursday community group. This is recorded. This will be probably shown on YouTube or something like that. But this is the for anybody, not just members, but non-members, to get an introduction of what plant-based support is all about. And we're just gonna keep going on till more people come. But in the meantime, Dina, you're on the spotlight right now. So if you can say who you are and your name, where you're from, and why you joined us tonight.
My name is Dina, and I live in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. We're just one town over from west of Toronto. And I'm here because I love the community. I love seeing everybody. I love learning from you all. And I like it when there is like a presentation. That I like a lot as well. But I don't always join for that. I just join to just chat and hear what everybody wants to talk about. Is there anything I'm missing?
That was great.
Thank you for sharing
Okay.
that. Peggy, you take it away. If there's you're admitting people as they come. So you're kind of the admin person here.
Yeah, I don't see anybody else in the waiting room. But yeah, Dina, we were just talking sort of offline before we went live. We thought that maybe we would talk about amongst all of us why we know that plant-based works. So what we've seen, what we have experienced ourselves, maybe the changes that we've seen in us and other people we've watched. Um, so maybe, Dina, while you're thinking about that, I can just chime in and say that I have a coaching practice and I have seen loads of improvement. Sort of my favorite success story is I'll call him Bill. Well, that's actually his real name. But so Bill lost 70 pounds in 3 months. He reduced his A1C from 9.8 to 5.6. His cholesterol from 210 to 138. And like that is to say, it doesn't take a long time to see big results. So, yeah, plant-based works because it is so like we are trying to get into people the one nutrient, well, many nutrients, but primarily one nutrient that most people, like 97% of America, is lacking in, and that is fiber. So when we encourage fiber, it just squeezes the other food out of the diet, off the plate, and it just works wonders. Anybody else want to chime in? Rich, maybe do you have a
Yeah,
story? You're very
sure.
quiet down there in the Bobby. No. You are in the Cindy Brady
Oh.
square, right? Like it's Cindy
Right.
Brady. No. You're Bobby Brady. They were on the left side. Okay, Bobby, Richard. Why does
So,
plant-based work?
there's three stories. I'll keep them brief since there's three of them, but just to reinforce how it works. First, I'll share my success story briefly, because a lot of people already heard my story that I lost 150 pounds with a plant-based diet, and I know it works because my numbers came down. I was pre-diabetic, I was hypertensive. And the reason I did this diet was because I wanted to reverse those conditions without meds. Less than a year, I proved to the doctor I would never need the medication. He never pushed it. And I'm still med free 12, 13 years later, whatever it is now. And so that's one success story. Well, before I move on, I also have a knee injury. And the reason I bring it up is because for 5 years, I was living with a knee issue that the doctor said I should have been in excruciating pain. and I wasn't. And the doctor even attributed it to my diet. But unfortunately, I tore my meniscus this past year, and because of that, the knee deteriorated much further, and I do have to do surgery. But for 5 years, I was living pain-free when I should have been in pain, and I owe it to this lifestyle. So the second story I want to share is my mom. Some of you may have heard the story that she reversed her diabetes after being on meds for probably 40 years. And she's in her 70s, and she doesn't have to think about medication anymore. She decided to try what I did because she saw the success I was having, and it's just so incredible to see somebody else do it. Third success story was a good friend of mine. She trusted me to try plant-based. She had severe asthma, and the big thing was she gave up dairy. That was the big thing that caused the asthma, and her asthma went away. And those are three stories I'm extremely proud of to show how it works.
Nice, very nice. Dina, what can you contribute to the conversation? Why has plant-based worked for you?
Um, I went into it not to lose weight because I didn't have a weight problem. I went into it because I saw my parents suffer
Uh,
and my grandparents suffer from heart disease. And I've always been interested in nutrition. And, I was reading all these different nutrition books. None of them actually said don't eat meat. So I felt like I still had to eat meat until I read Dr. Bernard's book, 21 Day Kickstart. And then after I read that book, I couldn't believe that I didn't have to eat meat. And I felt like that was the missing piece. And it was at the right time because that is when there was a lot of books being written. There was a lot more plant-based doctors. Forks Over Knives documentary just came out. And on my 50th birthday, I went to see the movie. I took the day off from work. And I went to see the movie. And I always tell people that I left the theater as a newly minted, I say vegan, but really whole food plant-based.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't like perfect in the beginning. But I noticed improvements right away, especially like when I got rid of the cheese and the dairy. Like that was huge. And I did lose weight even though I didn't need to lose weight. I felt like I just felt like my energy went up, my complexion, my hair. My gray hair is not because I went plant based. That's hereditary for sure. But um, I just felt better, and I did it to prevent what my parents went through.
You mind if I ask you a question? Were you
Sure.
eating fairly healthy before Dr. Bernard? I mean, I know you were still eating meat, but were you eating mainly fruits and veggies too?
I was doing Mediterranean, so it
Okay.
was a fairly good diet. Um, with the meat, I was eating chicken and fish and feta cheese. And as I was eating that with the vegetables and the fruit, I didn't think that it was healthy eating cheese.
Right.
I felt like, how can that be healthy? Because I knew
Mhm.
that it had, fat and cholesterol. Um, so that's basically what I was on before I went plant-based. But I eliminated, I gradually eliminated certain foods from my diet before I eliminated the meat. And I think it was the book that I read, Bernard's book, that gave me permission, because the marketing, the meat marketing, the government tells you, and I didn't live in Canada all my life. I moved here in 1988. So I lived in the US on and off and in other countries as well. But there was always that, even in other countries, meat, everyone believed that you had to have meat. Not everybody, but a lot of the people that I knew. And it was part of a lot of the the food. And living in other countries, I was still with my family unit, and we still kind of ate the same way. So it's not like we were adopting the local cuisine. Um, yeah, so um, uh, it was when I turned 50 and I started like reading all the different books on plant-based and seeing the documentaries and going on retreats. I pretty much immersed myself in the lifestyle. And I enjoyed myself. I was happy. I noticed that the people were happy. Like the people are happy in the whole food plant-based community.
I agree.
They seem cheerful. Everybody's happy, and it was fun going on the retreats. And I met people that were, like the Esselsteins and the Campbells. They were there for us. They were reachable, and I had lots of pictures with many of them. And I'm not doing that as much now. I'm not doing retreats. I kind of mellowed out a little with that, and I'm just doing the food and the exercise. But I was exercising a lot before I went plant-based. Like I was doing a lot of running.
Mm-hmm.
I was always into exercise, so that helped keep me slim. And I think if I didn't do the exercise before I went plant-based, I could have had a weight problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tina.
You're
Linda, I
welcome.
see that you have popped in here. Hi there.
After getting back from my trip to Costco. Anyway, yeah.
That's always fun.
My goal was to sign on at 4:00, but anyway. So yeah, so I know I'm a little bit familiar with some of you here. I have popped in here and there. I have been whole food plant-based since August 1st of 2020, so 5.5-ish years. And it's really the best thing ever. The best thing ever. But my backstory is that I really had digestive problems since I was a young girl. And other than my mom doing Weight Watchers when I was growing up, there was no other real emphasis on plant-based. I mean, we did eat fruits and vegetables, but I definitely grew up in a meat-heavy family. And I mean everything from hot dogs and hamburgers and turkey and beef and I mean the whole thing. And all the rest of my family is still meat-heavy, but I'm the only one that adopted a plant-based diet. And really it was for digestive reasons. I thought I was eating healthy because I was eating, organic chicken and wild caught fish and organic eggs. And I mean, I was really trying to do, thinking I was eating healthy. And then really one by one, I started, hearing that for digestive reasons, really poultry was not great. My cholesterol numbers were going up. And for one reason or another, I ended up, so the very first exposure I had to plant-based was here local. I'm in Southern California. There was a nutritionist who was holding classes through one of the local medical centers here on plant-based. I thought, what the heck? So anyway, I went to it and the class was interesting, but I still didn't walk away going, oh, this is for me. And so it was really somehow getting a handle on the plant-based thing. And my first official day of no animal products has been August 1st of 2020. And since that time, my cholesterol numbers have come way down. My kidney function that was kind of hovering on the high side is now well within the normal range. I've lost a total of from my highest weight, which was 203, so I've lost 53 pounds over the course of 5 years without any emphasis on losing weight. It just kind of happened. And oh, thank you for the hearts. I mean, just like, I just can hardly believe it, because I was a member of Weight Watchers for 22 years. And the weight kind of, oh, that's sweet. The weight was, coming and going and coming and going. And so, yeah, so cholesterol numbers, weight, kidney function, just, skin cleared up, just a lot of things that and the digestive tract is not 100%, but it's 1,000% better than what it was. So it's really great improvement. And and it was interesting what Dina said about people in the plant-based world seem happy. In 5.5 years, I've never heard anybody say that, but it's true. I mean, even though many of us have one or more challenges that, maybe take some effort and so on. For the most part, kind people, and I don't know, there is something about people that follow a plant-based diet, the happy faces.
How do you do that?
I mean, it's really true. And I don't know that I would connect those dots other than saying I feel so blessed to have met the people that I met pretty much 100% online, because, I live in Southern California. There isn't much going on here in terms of plant-based, but, I've met people along my coast, lots of people on the East Coast, and that I truly would never have met had I not gone plant-based. So, I mean, I just have chills right now. Literally, it's quite a world. So that's kind of the story.
That's quite a resume that you have there as far as plant-based nutrition. And it's wonderful, Linda and Dina, to have you with us tonight. We kind of wanted to make this a little bit conversational and just really informal. We don't have a presentation for you, but we wanted to, maybe if you had questions for us, or maybe just we have things that we could talk about. But is there anything that we could answer for you? I mean, you have 5 of us here that I think that the 2 of you could probably answer each other's questions, because I think that you're both well versed in this subject.
Well, I always had an interest in nutrition. But until I got into the plant-based world, definitely an emphasis in that area now. But I always had an interest in nutrition, and I actually got my college degree in home economics.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
And one of my only regrets was not having gone and gotten my RD. Really, I mean, I'm not motivated enough to now go back to school and get it, but my focus is just on, and maybe a lot of you can agree with this, but I'm telling you, during the course of this journey, I guess you would call it, I feel like I'm learning something new every day.
Yes.
Whether it's, that includes meeting new people, getting that community, growing and learning from each other, but truly just, I don't think there will ever come a day where I know it all. It's just constant learning and constant journey that has been the best. I love the food. If I'm not sleeping, I'm in the kitchen, and, so it's definitely a labor of love.
What you said resonated with me, because I also wanted to do something like become a nutritionist. I never did, but this lifestyle makes you want to keep learning. And
absolutely. And the more we learn from each other, and I mean, I can't believe that all the areas of medicine that we have exposure to in the plant-based world, if we allow ourselves to explore all that.
So,
You
sorry.
know, learning nutrition and health in general, but also learning specifically, cardiology, a little bit of nephrology, and, internal medicine, and just all the areas of medicine and nutrition, has been
Linda,
really
I just
great.
want to pipe in that about you didn't follow your dream to become an RD. So I did. I went on to graduate school, and then postgraduate, I did nutrition studies. But when I learned that becoming an RD is going to be school cafeteria, hospital cafeteria, and institutional cafeteria, I was out. I did not want to do that. So, and that was really what the training was. So, unless that is really where your heart, you made the right decision.
You know what? It isn't. And I didn't really, I mean, maybe had I thought about it or researched that, I would have found the same thing. But the last thing I want to do is work in a hospital because I mean, boy, would you be swimming upstream living in a hospital because,
Yeah, yeah. And you're an RD, right?
So I'm not.
Oh, you're not.
I'm a cardiovascular nurse, diabetic educator, and I would have doctors send me their diabetes patients who are almost always cardiovascular related as well. And my manager, my diabetic educator manager, um, emphasized that I was not to talk about nutrition and I was to refer anybody who was asking nutrition questions to the RD.
my gosh,
And there's
I'd be crazy.
that's,
and so
that's
I was
unbelievable.
doing that, and the feedback I got was that you two are talking two different languages. And so I collaborated with the RD saying, listen, we're in the same clinic, we're sharing the same patients. Can we talk about how we can support our patients equally with the same purpose, right? She was so resistant. Her husband had died of cancer like a year ago. She was insistent that you had to do the regular RD protocol. And it was very frustrating. So I took it upon myself, looking at what I could and couldn't do as a nurse and a diabetic educator. So Peggy, we can talk about nutrition legally because we're smart and we know what happens with good nutrition. And my patients did amazing. And then the manager came and said, Anne, you can't do that. And I says, I'm teaching them about how to stop insulin resistance. It doesn't, and I didn't go any farther than that, but it does absolutely include nutrition. And I would give them resources. And that's what I did. And I got a lot of resistance, but heck, my patients, the patients that really got it, that wanted it, and actually followed through, they had amazing results. So I was totally motivated to keep going. And the doctors that said, Ann, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because just like your numbers, your high A1Cs to low, blood pressure's going down, I was taking them off medications, de-prescribing. And I was like, this is fun. This is finally like worth the effort of going through the 30 years, of what I was doing, all my health professional stuff. And I'm like, so yeah,
Awesome.
I got around it.
I have a
Well,
curiosity, excuse me. Yeah, I have a curiosity about the experience Linda and Dina have had with their doctors, because as a physician myself, and for 25 years, I practiced for 34 years, and I retired a couple of years ago. But I know my head was buried in the sand for most of my practice, and that's one reason why I do a lot of volunteer work now. I volunteer for a foundation as a medical director. somewhat penitence, or be repenting. I figure until I leave this earth for all the years that I did not guide patients in the right way. I was trained to have patients believe they needed their blood pressure medicine and their diabetes medicine the rest of their lives, and
Yep.
that high blood pressure was irreversible and type 2 diabetes was irreversible. So as I look back, that in retrospect, that really hurt me a lot. But I just want to see what your experiences are, because there still are there's a paucity of doctors that will embrace that. And there are some that will try to dissuade you. So what has been your experience, Linda and Dina, with your doctors with this transformation?
So with the doctors, my doctors, I would say there are none that are opposing what I'm doing, but I only have one. The closest I've gotten to that is my current primary care doctor. When I first met her for the first time, which is just a year and a half ago, and I told her that I was following a plant-based diet, she told me she was vegan.
Oh.
And so anyway, that's the closest I've gotten. So she's
Yeah.
definitely on board and very, very enthusiastic with checking, constantly checking my B12 and my vitamin D and hemoglobin A1C, and just doing, I mean, she's pretty generous with her lab studies. And so anyway, that's the
Great.
closest I've gotten to
That's pretty
a
good.
doctor that
Yeah.
halfway
That's
on board with
exceptional.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we haven't ever, with limited time with the doctor or whatever, I haven't really ever taken the time to ask her, like, what are you eating in a day kind of thing. But at some point I will. But she's really, pretty bright. She's been in practice about 11 years, 12 years, and married to a internal medicine as well. And so anyway, so I find that, but one thing that was interesting is all my decades, almost my entire life of having digestive problems, whenever I would ask to see a nutritionist or a dietitian, thinking that somebody in that field should be able to help me with my digestive tract, either they would send me to somebody where I really knew more than they did. I mean, all they could tell me was, what does a portion of oatmeal look like? And, whatever. It's like, I need more than this. And then in other instances, I was told that the only way we can have you see a dietitian is if you have diabetes or,
Prediabetes too.
yeah, if you have pre-diabetes or, maybe you need weight loss or whatever, but we don't have any that specialize in digestive health. So then eventually, years later, in my GI doctor's office, and this was before COVID, they actually hired a dietitian that specialized in GI to work in their office. And I went to her once, and the only thing she could offer me, that's her specialty, was the low FODMAP. That was it. Absolutely no other suggestions. And so I thought, well, maybe that is the answer. Well, it didn't end up being the answer. This was long before I started eating plant-based. So she did not offer plant-based and really didn't offer anything other than low FODMAP, which is something that you're only supposed to be on for a short amount of time, if at all.
Right.
And I was not advised of that. It's pretty much, here's the book, now go home and do this kind of thing. So I'm like, I think that there could be a lot of improvement.
Yeah, I went into
field.
pre-dietetics and as part of my education, and we were always taught put the meat in the middle and everything else around it. And I was diagnosed with diverculitis before I started my plant-based. I thought I was healthy. It was the fiber that I was lacking, and the doctor I saw told me to drink the orange drink. Didn't say change your diet. And then I learned about what I needed to change through a coach, a running coach I'd hired. And then I saw those improvements. And that's what changed my life, which is I saw my performance get better and less injuries. I thought it was normal to run and wake up the next morning hurting and being sore. But with my dad, I helped him change his diet and he was pre-diabetic and the doctors wanted to put him on, is it metformin? Is that the
Yeah, metformin. That's what my mom was on.
Yeah, and he said, "Well, let me wait. My daughter knows a lot about nutrition. Let me talk to her." And his dropped down, and so the doctor told him, "Continue what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, it's working." And then, sadly, he'd failed when he's doing gardening, and he had osteoporosis, which obviously takes many years because he's 78, and but he's had a lot of pushback from his doctors telling him he needs to include meat in his diet. And I have a brother that's a doctor. He's fairly healthy, and he encourages meat also in his diet because he did get thinner, which is the natural thing as you go to a plant-based diet, you start to, lose weight because you're getting,
Sure.
more nutrient dense and caloric dense. So that's kind of been a battle, but he's been following more of my advice.
Ah,
That's
But
good.
there's a lot of I feel like a lot of pushback in my family with that's why I need this community because there's a lot of pushback for you gotta have that meat in your diet.
yeah, I
And
don't really get pushback as much, but I don't
hmm
get any interest either. Mm.
yeah.
For the first time in the 5.5 years, when my sister took me to an appointment a couple weeks ago, she was, I mean, they all know that I eat differently than they do. So anyway, we were back on the way back from the appointment, and she's like, well, maybe we should stop and I'll pick up something, like In and Out or whatever. And I
hmm
said, well, I did a lot of cooking and really stocked up the freezer and the fridge and everything. I said, I've got plenty of food. We can have, you're welcome just to have whatever I'm having, which will just be plant-based. And she said, yeah, that sounds good or whatever. So she actually, I wouldn't say she raved about it, but she was pretty positive about it. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah, that's good.
first
I have
time
kids.
5.5 years, so that was pretty cool. But
Yeah. Well, I jumped up because I was making dinner for my family. I realized I left the asparagus in too long and burnt it.
Oh no.
The one
oh,
vegetable they were going to eat. The one vegetable I know they'll eat. I burnt it.
oh my gosh.
I forgot to turn the oven off.
Well, what you were talking about made me think about how I think it's important to always be open about your diet. I tell everybody, I don't care, they know my success story anyway, and I want them to know how I lost the weight. So I think it's no surprise to them. They're not expecting me to eat the junk food, and
Yeah,
nobody pressures me because I'm very open about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I am too. I mean, I don't get pressure. I just don't get a lot of, like, wow, tell me more. I want to do this, kind of thing. I don't really get that, but I don't really get pushback either. I mean,
I get a
they
lot
just,
of I could never do that.
yeah.
Well, the only thing that I got just recently, because with my dad getting thinner and he's getting stronger because he's had to do resistance training. I've been explaining to him the importance of, doing resistance training to build his muscle back up. Because he had to get that surgery, kyphoplasty or something, where they inject that cement into the spine because he had a compression fracture. He's
Um,
Mm.
getting stronger, but my brother, his father-in-law is 92. He still drives. He's very healthy. He eats hamburgers. I mean, he's always comparing him to my dad. And, there's always, in my mind, we don't, I don't know. That I don't really go with that argument, but, and he'll say, well, look at dad. He's frail and he's eating your plant-based diet. And then my father-in-law eats hamburgers and he's driving still. And I just like, well, I don't know what to say. I just say, well, this just works for me, but there's always an outlier. That's what I'll tell them. There's always an outlier. But I don't know.
Dina, what about your doctors? How are they responding to what you're doing?
I'm going to get into that. I just want to say, Marilyn, he might have
Uh,
ate really healthy in his earlier days.
true,
And then, as the fast food joints started to show up,
true.
Yeah.
so maybe that helped carry him to his 90s. That's what happened with my family. My mom was making a lot of Mediterranean food,
Hmm.
and my siblings and we were slim. All of us were slim until McDonald's started showing up, and we would visit McDonald's once a week. And, my mom kind of got hooked on that because it was, she didn't have to cook.
Yeah.
Sure.
And no one looked at it as unhealthy.
Right.
And my dad would have like 5 cheeseburgers.
Mhm.
Well, when I was
I
younger,
had
my
the fish
mom
fillet
always
because I
cooked.
thought that was the healthiest.
Yeah, I think when I was younger, we cooked a lot from home.
Mhm.
I think our society's moved away from that a little bit more
Yeah.
because of the convenience.
Mhm.
And I feel lucky that my mom cooked because a lot of my friends' moms worked, and, they'd come home and try to put something quick together. And she cooked every day. And, and then we would go out once a week once McDonald's showed up. But as far as doctors go, I have my family doctor, who I've had for a long time. She's a conventional doctor. Um, I was when I started going to her, I wasn't a plant-based, and I transitioned on my own. It wasn't really from the advice of anybody. I was just like reading a lot of nutrition books and fell into it that way. And then I told her that I was plant-based, and she kept trying to get me to eat fish. And I would say, well, what about all the, mercury and dioxins and cholesterol in fish? And
Lots.
she couldn't give me an answer for that. She just said, I just want you to eat fish, but I didn't eat the fish. I learned through retreats and word of mouth that there was a cardiologist that was 2 hours from north of me by car. And I asked her to refer me to him. I didn't need a cardiologist, although heart disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol runs in my family. It could be diet related, but my grandparents died of heart disease on my mother's side, and my mom died of heart disease, and my dad died of cancer. Um, Sorry, my train of thought is kind of like going away here. Anyways, I thought it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a cardiologist as a doctor, so I started going to him. And every year I would drive up for 2 hours, and I would see him, and he would assess me. And shortly after, COVID showed up. And so we would do telehealth. And I still have this doctor, and we connect every year. I get my blood work done through him. I don't even see my doctor. Um, and the times that I have seen her, she is a drug pusher.
Yeah.
Like,
Lot
well,
of
one
them are.
time I went to her, I had bone density test, and I didn't even have osteopenia. And instead of saying, giving me diet advice and to do more weights, she put me on Fosamax. I didn't even have osteopenia. That's like
Wow.
20 years. I didn't stay on the Fosamax because I had trouble swallowing, and it was a result of taking the Fosamax. And I had to figure that out for myself. Um, so with my cardiologist and with my naturopaths, I have two. One's a Seventh-day Adventist, and the other one is he he doesn't not eat meat, but he's vegetable heavy. The other naturopath, he lives near me. Oh, he works near me, and the Seventh Day Adventist naturopath, um, I I go to him, not every year, but every few years. And I like going to him because they're vegan, and he does more of the nutrition.
Mhm.
Um, and through the years, I've taken courses. So besides the community and going on retreats, I took the Cornell nutrition course. I took Forks Over Knives cooking course. So I was self-educating myself. And I definitely knew that my doctor wasn't going to help me, but I needed her to refer me to doctors that I wanted to go to. So, and she was helpful that way, you know.
Mm.
And also,
Interesting.
doctors are helpful. Like, uh, if I have like if I fell and I hurt my wrist or,
Yeah.
things like that, I went to emergency I had a fractured wrist because I fell on it. I fell on a metal water spout off
Oh,
my bike. So, I mean, I feel like doctors are like super important, but I don't feel like my doctor understands me, my nutritional needs. And I know there's a lot of plant-based doctors out there and you can connect through telehealth. And uh, I feel like this community, like there are Dr. Thompson is here. And if I have a question, I could go to him. And I'm not saying I'm trying to not see my doctor, but I haven't gone to my doctor for a while, and I feel like if I need information, I can get it through this community.
Yeah, certainly Paul Chatlin has built something strong, and now that he's sort of stepping into the background, and Jessica Fitch has taken a strong lead, and Zamina, and really building up the community of support people. That's us, and we are here to help to support you and to give you the whether it's acknowledgement, education, um, yeah, support is the big word.
Yeah.
Um, unless everybody any has a little anything else that they want to chat about, I thought that maybe we would talk a little bit about PBS and where it's going as far as like what we maybe how we can help you both, Dina and Linda. Um, and talk about our individual roles with PBS, maybe just to open it up. I don't know if this is going to be recorded and then shown on the website. I think I'm not really sure, but maybe for somebody else who's listening in. James, what is your group about? What do you do?
So thank you. My support group is called the Allergy, Asthma, and Immunity Support Group, and we've covered a number of topics over the past several months. We've talked about food allergies, food intolerances, eating, making food choices to enhance your breathing status to minimize asthma. We talked about probiotics and supplements and how they may impact your health as far as your gut microbiome and the worthlessness of a lot of them. And next Wednesday, like my support group meets on the third Wednesday of each month at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And so next week we'll be actually talking about some of the nuances of processed and highly processed foods. Because I think it was Linda mentioning about learning new things. Uh, that's one important concept about nutrition. It's a science, and science is ever changing. So you're led by evidence, and so it turns out that both Dr. Barnard and Dr. Greger have lately covered that not all processed foods are bad. Not all highly processed foods are bad. And to not preempt my conversation next Wednesday, there's a lot to unpack there, especially when you put into under that same umbrella, highly processed meat, which is a whole different thing,
Yep.
versus highly processed plants and and plant-based meats. So there's a lot of interesting and new information on that. I think they'll be good for discussion. But one thing that Dina had mentioned about I want to address that as it is good to see a doctor. And Dina, I see you kind of put your doctor in a box. If I have this or that, I'm going to go see my doctor. But if I have nutrition, if I have nutrition questions, I'm taking them somewhere else. And that is because most doctors, not all, it's improving, but most doctors have very little knowledge about nutrition. It's not in the DNA of medical school. It's not even in the formula of CME, continuous education. For 30 years, 34 years, I did CME. Doctors have to have 50 plus hours of extra learning each year. And those are sponsored by pharma,
Yep.
99%. And so you don't get any nutrition in those conferences. You learn about drugs and surgeons learn about procedures. And then that's what they have to offer their patients. And so it's kind of the way it's designed. And RDs are trained in similar fashion. A lot of the RD programs are sponsored by, drug companies. And so you do have to be careful where you get your information. But it is important. One thing about platform, and I'm glad that Peggy mentioned about support. We're here to support, not really give medical advice, because you should get that from a doctor that knows a whole lot more about your history and can ask you a lot more questions. But I'm always happy to talk about things in general in terms of more food for thought and things you can talk with your doctors about. So,
Yeah. I know it's recommendations if we approach a doctor
yeah.
through this platform. I forgot to mention that the cardiologist, I don't know if I said he's plant-based, but he actually
Yes.
went to McDougall in person and
Oh,
learned from McDougall. And he was like a resident doctor for a week
Wow.
in the 12-day program.
Yes.
And he was, he's plant-based, he's from Newfoundland, and he's
Mm.
healthy looking, like he's
Yeah.
healthy looking. And my family doctor is overweight and not very healthy looking at all. And I'm just bringing that up because there's a huge difference there. But I was so happy to learn that he had actually gone to McDougall. And I
Yeah.
did the McDougall program as well. And so the late Dr. McDougall was our doctor as well. So if we had any questions, we could email him. Sorry, my daughter just came in and I'm going to close my door, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Yeah.
Did you tell your cardiologist about your primary doctor urging you to eat salmon, or did you not even bother to discuss it because you knew what the answer would be? But did you discuss it with your cardiologist?
Yeah. I would tell him like what she suggested, but
Mhm.
he and I were on the same page.
Yeah.
And there was no question on what I should eat. But one thing he did say, because my blood pressure was always pretty good because I ran, but when I stopped running as much as I did, my blood pressure did creep up a little, as did my cholesterol, and I was plant-based. And he
Mm.
said to stay away from nuts and seeds,
Mm.
and that's really hard for me to do.
Mm.
But that was one of the suggestions he made, and that I found that kind of hard to follow because I
Yeah.
enjoy nuts and seeds, and I don't know if that would make a difference. I have to do an experiment. He's always
Yeah.
said that to me. I
Yeah.
think he follows,
Esselstyn.
yeah. And he
Yeah.
said to me, because he said I was following too many people, and which is true. I was following Furman and all these plant-based doctors. I couldn't get enough of all of them. And he
Right.
said, just follow McDougall and Esselstyn. And so I threw Furman in there because he promotes nuts and seeds. But
Yeah.
I like Furman because of that, because he likes nuts and seeds.
me too.
But right now I do eat nuts and seeds, and my cholesterol is on the higher end, and my blood pressure is actually not bad unless I go to the doctors and get it checked there. But here it's within range.
It's interesting because my cholesterol is perfect. My LDL, my total cholesterol is like 126, and I eat nuts and seeds.
I went on a retreat a couple of years ago with the Seventh-day Adventists, and I was eating nuts, seeds, and olive oil at this retreat. But in the evenings, we were having just juice. There was no dinner, just juice. And the first 2 days was a juice fast. And I had my blood work checked after, and it was fine. It was within range. So I think, there's tweaks.
Yeah,
It may just be that I need to do a lighter dinner or a juice
it's true.
for dinner,
It's true.
because I couldn't believe everything was within range.
Hmm.
Well,
And I was
timing,
eating nuts and seeds, and they promote oil too, olive oil. Seventh-day Adventist.
timing does count in terms of how
Yeah.
your body's metabolism and your gut microbiome works. That's why many people that are plant-based that also do time restricted eating, also called intermittent fasting,
Mhm.
tend to have really good results by not having that heavy meal, later at night, and doing some of the things you mentioned. Some people say juice, that can give you an insulin spike, but not if you're eating a high fiber, low fat, diet. Then you're going to handle it fine usually because they have a carryover effect. Dr. Furman always mentioned, he has frequently mentioned about the next meal effect, in terms of beans. Even if you kind of deviate a little bit, the beans you ate the day before may still keep your numbers level. And so
Mhm.
um, it's an interesting
Yeah.
concept.
And the food that we had, it wasn't like a buffet.
Mhm.
They gave us a plate of the food. And after the first 2 days of juicing, I would finish everything on my plate because I really wanted those calories.
Yeah.
Um, and then we had a smoothie in the evening as well with the third day. Um, but the juices were non-fruit related. They were all vegetable juices.
Okay.
Yeah. And we always started the morning with lemon water, which I
Yes.
still do to this day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were there vitamins that they said you should take?
Um, they did promote the B12,
Mhm.
and they did give us tonics,
Mhm.
and depending on what the ailment was of that particular person, they would get a particular type of tonic. And they would come around when we were watching a presentation, because we had a presentation every day, handing out tonics. And I remember once there was only two of us that didn't get tonics because we didn't have, I didn't have anything in particular. And I wanted a tonic. So I approached one of the doctors, like, can I have a tonic tomorrow? And just the regular, it's just like an herbal tonic, you know. I
Ginger or something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
I felt left out.
Mhm.
yeah.
But yeah, I think they promote the same vitamins that the
Yeah,
plant-based doctors do, the B12 and
yeah.
um,
Vitamin D.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually vitamin D, they found out that my vitamin D was very low.
Yeah,
And my
very common.
doctor, she
Yeah,
said to me, my family doctor, just you don't need your vitamin D tested. Just assume you're low and take the prescribed amount would be like 1,000. But the Seventh-day Adventist doctor, when he saw how low my vitamin D was, he said take 10,000
yeah, yeah,
IU to bring
yeah,
it up. And then when I had my blood work done, because they checked your blood work before and after the retreat.
yeah,
After the retreat, it had gone up, and he goes, they suggested 5,000. You know,
yeah.
so
That's
even
why
my
it should be
family
tested.
doctor didn't
Yeah.
really pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's why
And that
those tests
affects
are
your
available.
bone health too.
Absolutely. It affects a lot of things.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
vitamin D is involved in over a couple of hundred different biochemical processes in the body. So your immune system, affects your immune cells, a lot of different things. Your eyes.
So everybody, we're just about at the top of the hour at 8 o'clock. We just have a few minutes left. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I see Marilyn has gone to salvage her asparagus.
Yes.
I was going to ask her if she had anything to come, and she's been so quiet. But yeah, does anybody have any sort of parting thoughts? Dina?
I just want to say I've joined other groups in the past, and this has to be the best. Out of like I don't want to compare too much, but out of the all the groups I've been a part of, this is the best. It's it's definitely worth joining.
We'll pass
Perfect.
that on.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm glad that that you feel that way. I'm glad that we are providing what you need. Yeah, and Linda, I hope you feel the same.
Absolutely. I
Won-
do.
Wonderful.
We all have a common thread, but we all have a story as well,
All right.
in
Yep.
our family
Yes.
history. I mean,
Yes.
the whole thing. So
Yes.
it's really nice to
Terrific.
to
I don't know what's coming up next at PBS. Do either of you, Rich, James, and do you have anything coming up next? As far as I know, I have something in April, but not until April. Do you have anything
Well,
coming up
mine is next
with
Tuesday, but I'm
PBS?
sure
Any
there's
groups?
something. There's
I
usually
just yeah,
something on Monday too, Monday and Tuesday. So yeah,
Monday,
I'm
Tuesday.
And
looking now.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I
Um,
have my weight loss support group on, I believe it's Mondays, the first Monday of the month.
Terrific. Okay.
I
And
started
anybody?
doing it.
It looks like the next activity is on February 16, Foods That Fight Pain,
Oh,
Yep,
7
that's
is
to
that
8.
Nicole, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Hope
that's at 7 p.m.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah,
terrific.
Eastern time.
Awesome.
I want to share just a takeaway before we kind of really wind things up, and if others want to follow a takeaway. I just want to thank Linda. You subtly mentioned, oh yeah, my kidney function improved. And that's a reminder to me in the medical system with patients, when you have chronic disease every day as your patient clientele, kidney function was something in my head that was the exception that couldn't improve, especially when it becomes to like third stage, third and fourth level.
right.
And thank you, because that's huge. There's so many people with that silent disease that don't have any warning whatsoever until the doctor says, oh, you're now going to be referred to a nephrologist. And you're like, and they
What?
say, well, you're at stage 3. And I always thought, why don't they talk about stage 1 and stage 2, which is like pre-diabetes to a person who's diabetes? Like, why don't you talk about stage 1 and 2 for kidney function? But thank you for sharing that your kidney function improved. That is huge. That's such a metabolic shift. And I just thank you for adding that in your story. It's a subtlety for maybe some, but for me, it's just like, boom. I mean, it's just like diabetes, heart disease, but kidney function is one of those things that needs to be talked about more and more. So anyway, that's my
Absolutely.
takeaway for
One
today.
of the things I want to
You.
remind everybody is what Dr. McDougall used to say, which is my patients actually get better.
Yeah.
When he compares himself to like the conventional doctors, where they can't really say that all the time.
Yeah.
Usually a plant-based doctor can
Yeah.
say that.
I
Because
can
why?
say it before and after.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the food. It's the food. It's the
It's the
food.
food.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
right.
It really, I mean, to think that food has the power that it does,
It's
Amazing.
huge.
I mean, it's
It is.
it's huge. And until we experience it, maybe it's almost hard to believe,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate, and thank you so much. I
Yeah,
mean,
keep telling your stories, each one of you.
Yes.
And Richard, so nice to meet you. Get a face and a
Nice to
voice
meet you.
and a
Yeah.
story too. Barb says she just loves that you're taking over the weight loss program that she was doing. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And
And
Dina, it's
no
always so
problem.
good to see you. I just never end up get
Nice to
tired of
see you
hearing
too,
you.
and everybody that's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're almost like an old friend.
We keep showing up. Yeah, that's right. It's good.
you know, Dr. Thompson, as a doctor, I mean, even though nephrology may not have been your area of specialty, going through medical school, I mean, did you know, or does it make sense to you that kidney health can improve with a plant-based diet? I mean, I'd say that over the 5.5 years, there's only been really maybe 2 nephrologists that I can remember, either in a Food for Life class or in a presentation. And I remember one of them was fairly young. I don't remember the age. I mean, he was probably, I don't remember, but he was fairly young. And I remember asking him that question. In your experience, is it possible to improve kidney function on a plant-based diet? And I remember specifically, this was probably 2-3 years ago, but he was kind of like, well, I don't know that there's science behind it, which is probably the reason why you don't hear a lot of doctors in the plant-based world saying, oh, yes, you can improve like you can with heart disease and other things. But in your experience, is that something that ever came up in your awareness?
Yeah. Well, as far as indirectly, because my background's internal medicine, and although I
Okay.
was pretty much dealing with allergy and asthma and food allergy, things like that, many of my patients were adults. Half the patients I saw were adults, half were children. And the half the adults, many of them had kidney problems.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's my guilty disposition that I went through a lot of years not knowing that. But
Yeah.
now I know through studies that's true, through nutrition
Okay.
studies. Absolutely, you can reverse it. Because the one thing about nutrition science is and ACLM training, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, is that you learn to address things through root cause. So you got to go upstream. Why do you have kidney problems, right? Well, the 2
Yeah.
most common reasons are blood pressure and diabetes.
Yeah.
So we know those are reversible, right? So if you don't have end stage, if you're stage 1, 2, 3, yes, it can be reversed, because when you reverse the underlying diabetes, the underlying hypertension, the underlying high cholesterol, then the body, given half a chance, will heal itself. And yes, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. I remember this was probably 10 or 12 years ago that I had this doctor, one of my internal medicine doctors, who, I mean, I think we just didn't have a rapport. But anyway, one time on my visit summary, I saw the diagnosis stage 3 chronic kidney disease. I'm like, what? And I don't think even after I saw that, I'm not sure that I think I was already on the path of changing doctors. But she never mentioned it to me. I saw it on the visit summary, and but I know in my mind, because I'm pretty in tune with lab results and like, why is this off, and this kind of thing. But I do remember probably 15 years at least of collecting all my lab studies and seeing those kidney function, the creatinine, I think it was,
Mhm.
being
UN creatinine.
at, right around the 0.99,
Yeah.
1.03.
The 60.
Yeah. And the
And below
EGFR.
60.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I could see, I mean, my numbers were at the high end or, even over that, but no doctor had ever addressed it with me. And I just
Yeah.
assumed that was me. That was the way. But when those numbers, after about a year of being on a plant-based diet, started coming down, like,
Yeah.
this is interesting.
Yeah.
And my sister is 3 years older than me. She's with a well-known HMO, and her cardiologist has been watching her kidney function. Doesn't sound like any of them are doing anything about it.
Yeah,
And,
they're waiting. They're waiting until it can be treated with the drug, medicine, or surgery or procedure. That's what they're
Yeah.
watching for, waiting for that line to be crossed.
Yeah.
That's the
But
unfortunate
Unfortunately,
part.
they're losing that window of time.
Yeah,
They're losing that window of time when they can do
yeah,
something about it. You made me think of one patient that I was so glad she came to see me because she was frustrated about that too. Same way like you, she learned about this and she got a little frustrated. So she did her own research, and sometimes that can be risky. And
yeah,
she was eating high protein. She said she was eating lower fat, but she was eating about 2 to 3 times as much protein as she should get, thinking, okay, she's gonna build up her enzymes and her structures and kidney function. And I said, no, 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 you're flooding your kidneys with protein, and
yes,
that's
Mhm.
wrong. Yeah,
right.
right,
so
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
That
so
makes it
people can,
worse.
yes, that can make
That
it a lot
causes the
worse. It's
problem.
hyperfiltration. So yeah, it's a
Yeah,
shame you don't get this from your doctor, and
right.
that's
Right.
why
It's so avoidable. It's so
yes,
avoidable.
yeah, yeah,
It
And
doesn't
yeah,
in
have
a
to be that way.
and in a world that is obsessed about protein,
Yes, I
yes,
know.
I don't
That's
know that.
exactly,
including the current guidelines.
yes.
Well, exactly.
Yes,
Which
So
reminds me, oh, go ahead.
no, no, no. I was just going to say so that so if people are going around with being on the verge of kidney disease and the doctors aren't, addressing it in a healthful way, and we're obsessed about protein, I don't know.
Yeah.
it's a bad combination.
It's a bad combination. Anyway, Anne,
But
sorry,
Well,
yes.
somebody, I'm trying to look up now, somebody's going to be Sid is going to host something about the guidelines with who are the
yes,
two
Oh, yes.
doctors? When is that
yeah.
coming up? I signed up for
Next
that.
week, I think it's on the same day of mine. It's just earlier in the day on the
Okay,
18th.
next
I want to
Wednesday?
send her as well.
Next
Yeah.
Wednesday, yeah, new dietary guidelines decoded by clinicians,
Yes,
and Nikki Davis, and
yes,
some big players.
The
Our
clappers.
own Dr. Breaky, and
yep,
Dr. Clapper.
Yeah,
It's gonna
woo!
be good.
Yeah, it's got
Great
Good.
panel.
big players. I hope
yes. Don't
everybody's
miss
not.
that.
I
Yeah.
hope
We
everybody's
all
not
need to see
mentally
that.
exhausted when my time comes around later that day.
If
No,
there's two meetings back to back, the first meeting, the meeting might get cut off like automatically.
Yeah.
That's something I've been noticing.
That's
And
Yeah,
I
that.
that
hope that it
happened.
can be
If we
fixed.
don't,
That
if
happened
we
the other
don't
day.
end our
Fortunately, there's a
meetings
few
on
hours
time.
difference with these.
Okay, that's
Okay.
good.
good.
I just want to bring up one more thing. Kennedy, he's promoting this type of fat now. What's it called?
Oh, tallow.
Yeah,
Tallow. Yeah.
tallow.
Drives me
Hello.
And
crazy.
now
Here's
all of a
the
sudden I see tallow on all these packages.
I
Yeah.
know.
and
Full
And
fat
restaurant.
dairy,
So
also full
sad.
fat dairy, full fat
it didn't
dairy.
take long for the food industry to like start putting that on packaging. Like
Mhm.
it was
That's
almost
so sad.
instantaneously.
Well,
And
in
So
the
coconut oil is still
tallow
all
comes
over
from
the
a
place.
cow, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
yes, that's
Deep
cow
Okay,
tallow.
fat, beef fat.
beef
But
It's
fat. And so
yeah,
and so even restaurants could start using it. Who knows?
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's how Dina, you were in. I think you were in with Glenn Mercer the other
Mhm.
day, right?
Yeah.
And that was That was one. That was the reason why I asked the question about how he felt about the impact of these guidelines, because even though most people don't follow them, most of us don't follow these dietary guidelines. These institutions do,
right.
schools do,
Mhm.
Yeah.
veterinary
Military
hospitals do.
does.
and the big corporations that sell food do. So it's going to be marketed now.
Prisons, military,
Yes.
community,
So
government
it
sponsored
matters.
anything.
It matters. Yeah.
You should
Yeah.
infiltrate the Canadian food guide into
I
the
know.
Oh,
I
gosh.
I wish.
guidelines
Yeah.
throw
here.
flyers
Yes.
everywhere and get
I
people to
wish.
at least
Yes.
follow the Canadian one, which isn't like 100% plant-based, but
No,
it's
but it's much
pretty
better though.
good.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
don't promote a lot of meat.
To annex with us.
Yeah.
Unless
Okay.
you can bring your nutrition to us, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe that, you know.
You can annex the nutrition part of it,
Yeah,
of what we
You got to
do.
get
that
that
would be
past the
great.
administration. So I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I
I
wonder-
don't think this administration is going to be long lasting. So
All right,
Oh,
children,
Okay.
guys, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
do we have to
we
go?
should get into
12 after.
politics, right?
And we probably need to stop. So
That's
if
a
I
good
say any
stopping
last
point
words,
when
it's
we
going to
start
be a
talking
lot of
about
last
politics.
words. So I
This has
think on the
been
count of
so
5,
great.
we count down,
Yeah.
and we just say
Thank you,
goodbye,
Linda.
Oh,
wish
yeah.
each other well,
We're 13
and
minutes
until
over.
next time.
Yeah, this has been so great, you guys.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Nice chatting with everybody.
yeah. Nice seeing
All right,
everybody.
stay here. Take care.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Bye bye.